Hey, I'm Bailey Peeples, and I'm in Miss Julie Kirkendall's Intro to Exercise Science class. And today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the article HIIT in the Real World. HIIT is high intensity interval training, it's a form of exercise. But the purpose of this study was to see if overweight individuals will willingly participate in a HIIT workout regimen and see the effects that it has on their bodies. So in order for them to find the participants for this study, they used advertisement and online questionnaires. And there were a few guidelines. The participants they had to be 18 years or older, and they had to have a BMI of greater than 27 kilograms and no history of cardiovascular or other underlying health issues. Throughout the study, they wore heart rate monitors to ensure that they were achieving that 80 to 90% maximum heart rate. And they used other software to measure visceral fat volume. And they also wore actigraph accelerometers to measure their total activity time outside of their HIIT workouts. As far as the results go, they did not see a huge difference at the baseline from those choosing standard exercise recommendations over HIIT, but they did notice that over time, the HIIT cohort had a higher score of agreeableness and extroversion, so they were more willing to work out and move. 88 participants achieved that 80% heart rate max, while 41 exceeded the 90% heart rate max, and 12 participants were unable to attain an adequate intensity because of leg fatigue. Let's see. The differences in outcomes according to those who remained on the trial versus those who did not. Obviously, the people who were more active and more adhering to the process did see better results. I think that the results we saw in this particular trial are particularly important because in the past, a lot of trials were in controlled laboratory settings, which I think is good and bad because in the lab, you are able to control each of the participants to make sure they are participating correctly. But in this trial, putting them out into the real world and living in free living conditions kind of shows a more realistic approach because they were the ones who had to get up and motivate themselves every single day to do the exercises and weren't having it kind of shoved in their face all the time. But the limitations, kind of like I said, it's not controlled. That to me, that's a strength and a weakness. And they had a higher dropout rate because once again, it's not in the laboratory setting, so people do have the choice to decide for themselves. And some strengths within this study were we got a wide variety of results because we had a lot of participants. 100 participants is a pretty big pool of people, and it went on for 12 months versus other studies that maybe are like a 8 to 12 week sort of thing. I think that this study, overall what I got out of it was in order to see results, you do have to stick with something because HIIT is something that does need to be practiced long term if you want to see significant changes. And as far as the experiment being more controlled, I think if it was in the lab or in a more controlled environment, we might have seen more extreme differences between the two groups. But I also like this because it's more realistic, and people who are not into really fitness, they can see that you do need to be consistent with something and give it your fullest potential in order to see the results. And I think if like anything changed maybe about this, they could have provided the participants with a personal trainer or something to kind of hold them accountable. But once again, that's not really something that everyone has access to. So I think that this overall gave us some really realistic results. And it was a really interesting study overall. So now I'm going to show you my citation. I hope this works.